Ever wonder how some financial services and fintech leaders learned about money when they were kids? Well, we've asked them 4 important questions to get their answers, and you definitely will want to hear them. Join me today as we hear from Bob Oros, Chairman and CEO of Hightower Advisors. Hey everyone, Mac Gardner here, author of Motivate Your Money and the best-selling global children's book, The 4 Money Bears. I'm joined today by the one, the only, Bob Oros. Bob is the chairman and CEO of Hightower Advisors. Bob, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Mac. Happy to be with you.
All right, so, I see the Michigan, the Go Blue in the back, and so, for those of you out there who are Michigan fans, yes, Bob is a big Michigan fan. I am a Terp. We are Big Ten rivals, but only in certain things. Maybe basketball, not football. So we won't go too deep into that. But Bob, if you could take a little bit time and tell folks a little about yourself and the firm that you run.
Yeah, so Bob Oros, Chairman and CEO of Hightower Advisors. We're a national wealth management firm. Started in 2008, which for many of you would probably say, wow, that was great timing. Now, I wasn't the founder, but I took over the firm about 6.5 years ago. And have been just very fortunate to operate in an industry that I have so much admiration for what advisors do. So just love being a part of this business.
Amen to that, brother. Amen to that. So, Bob, you have been a supporter of our financial literacy mission for some time. You and your firm, I think, espouse the power of education and what it means for advisors to educate their clients on a daily basis. We are working on developing a very cool game called the 4 Money Bears Berryville that will bring a different approach to financial education, financial literacy. We believe that starting it early is important, that K through 5 space, and that gamifying some of these things are going to be important and an important aspect of it. So part of this interview process that we're doing is we're reaching out to financial services leaders, fintech leaders, and we're asking them questions about their early childhood education experiences. So are you ready for question number 1, sir?
I am.
All right, here we go. So, Bob, what is your earliest memory of financial education or money education?
Yeah, so first of all, before I answer the question, I just want to commend you on the work you're doing, because I think engaging kids early and getting them really interested in this will just pay big dividends down the road. I've been a big believer we lack education around, basic literacy in our schools. And so if we can get kids excited and interested about it, I remember my first memory of it, honestly, was making money, cutting lawns, and then going to the bank with my passbook savings account.
The passbook savings account.
Where, like, if I told my kids about that, they'd be like, what?
What?
Like, don't I just go on the internet and look at it? No, back in the day, like, you would walk in and they would update it with the interest you'd earned. Mm-hmm. So I started to learn the concept of the value of money and how when you take money and deposit it, it earns more money. Mm-hmm. And most of all, though, I would say I was always interested in making money and working from the youngest age. So like cutting lawns, delivering newspapers at 5:30 in the morning before school, and then actually having to go collect, which was a hard activity, but it taught you the value of it because I could do the work. If I didn't collect, I didn't get paid.
Yep.
So like actually going through that effort and having the money in your hand and having somebody tip you for a job well done was actually big lessons for me.
What I love about this process, Bob, is that everyone that I've asked that question to, it's a vivid, visceral memory, right, of that first engagement with money. What I like about your story is that it is tied to a value system of earning it. It just doesn't magically appear off of a fictitious money tree. You actually have to do something, and then someone saw the value in your work and in the time that you put in to get it.
And what you just said, Mac, I think is so huge. I had the privilege of delivering a commencement address to the graduating class of Central Michigan University last year.
Nice.
And one of the things I talked about is I didn't think there was anything more special than when you're doing something that someone's willing to pay you for. and the pride that should come with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think we could do a lot. Like, honestly, I could do a better job at home. Like my youngest, who we were talking, is almost 17. She believes Apple Pay is like the source of all things. Not recognizing the ultimate source is right here.
Right. and then, but that's interesting, and we could definitely dive into a much deeper conversation. But I think, interestingly, Bob, the fact that technology has pulled us away from that experience of getting money in our hands, having actual currency to have to navigate. I think there's even a bigger need for education when it comes to money, because it could be moved away so quickly and so easily.
What's interesting is I had a boss who, and this was when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. So this wasn't like way back, just way back. But he would walk around on payday with the physical paychecks, hand it to each of us, and shake our hand and thank us for the work we've done.
Wow.
And in at that time, like, I didn't really fully appreciate that act.
Mm-hmm.
As I got older, I really connected it, because you were getting the check, he was thanking you, so you were seeing like cause and effect.
Yes.
And then you had to go deposit it, and then decide, am I going to keep some money back? If so, how much? How much do I need? How much am I going to deposit? Like, very different than now.
So that's interesting, Bob. The second question is, which ties in nicely to the conversation, the flow we're going, is what did money mean or represent in your home when you were growing up as a child?
Yeah. So I always said, I grew up in a very middle class, family, never wanted for anything, but never had more than I needed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if I wanted anything extra, I had to buy it. Mm-hmm. I didn't get to beg for it. I didn't get to talk my parents into it.
Convince them.
I had to go work for it. Yeah. I certainly couldn't just go use Apple Pay and beg for forgiveness later.
No.
So I recognized, if I wanted a Ralph Lauren polo shirt as opposed to maybe the Sears and Roebuck version, I had to pay up for that. So money to me was always not to put food on the table. It was to buy things above and beyond what I really needed. And then I had to make a value decision for the hard work. Yeah. And I'll tell you, when I was earning minimum wage, it was $3.35 an hour. Mm-hmm. So think about that. 8 hours of work to make $25
before tax.
So you had to think long and hard. If I'm going to spend $40 on this shirt, is it worth a day and a half of work?
Yeah. Yeah. And so it sounds to me that money in your home as you grew up was a tool or resource to be able to get things done sort of over and above what is sort of like a baseline, stuff like that, meaning your family instilled in you that this is what it is that you need. And if you want wants, right? That's on you as the individual to go out, because we're going to provide you what you need. Well, if there's wants, that's when you.
And then you had to assess the value of that to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Once you're the one who did it. Which leads us to our third question, Bob. We're both parents. Both, I think, try our best. We're fortunate that we're in this business and we can have conversations about money with our kids. But what do you think is the best way to teach kids about money?
I think they need to experience it. Similar to what I was talking about. I've always had the experience of money when I was a kid, meaning working for it, receiving it, depositing it. I think we could do a better job helping, and I'll just speak for myself. I could do a better job helping my kids and soon to be grandkids experience money. Mm-hmm. Because to your point, so much of this is electronic. You don't actually experience it. It gets credited, it gets debited, it gets credited. You hope the credits are bigger than the debits. Back in the day, you used to have to reconcile our bank account.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. When's the last time you reconciled a bank account?
When's the last time I went to a bank? That's the question you got to ask. Yeah. Really?
No kidding. Especially in a world of Cash App and Venmo and PayPal.
Digitally going back and forth.
Yeah, so which I don't think is really experiencing the true, notion of what money is.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think experience is better. I think in this whole financial literacy space and financial wellness space, there's a whole lot of information out there. There's tons of information on how to manage money, what to do with money. But I think one of the biggest issues that falls nicely into what you're saying, Bob, is we need to give the tools. We need to give young people the tools to be able to enact this knowledge and form the habits.
Yeah.
And so if we cannot do it physically, let's maybe create some gamified resources. Let's create an app for it.
Yeah.
There's so much tech out there to do your banking and your lending and your investing and your insurance, but there's not a lot of stuff out there really focused on education, which is really what we're trying to focus on is to give more people, young and old, just cool tools so they can learn about this stuff and get the reps. You know?
Yeah, they need a Spotify playlist of those tools.
Yes.
Because that's the language they speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they need the quick videos eventually. But like, I love the gamification approach you're taking because it creates engagement. Mm-hmm. And like we were talking about physically engaging with money, like that was our version of the game. But like you can now do it in a very different way that we didn't have available to us.
Yeah, and it's meeting people where they are, and especially if you're focused on the K-5 space, you gotta make it fun. Otherwise, they're not doing it.
Yeah.
So we're trying to do that. All right, so this is a loaded question for the CEO of an RIA, but what do you think, Bob? Please share your best advice you've been given when it comes to money.
Yeah, I think it's start with the basics and really make sure you understand the basics. I was fortunate. Like when I went to school, they taught us this stuff. We had classes they called home economics. We learned about budgeting.
Yeah.
We learned about like you can't spend money you don't have. We learned how to do our taxes. Like we had to do tax returns in school. So like my best advice is learn the basics, practice the basics, create accountability systems. Like one of the things I did, I was a little older because this wasn't available to me younger, but like I was an early adopter of Quicken. And I would enter all of my receipts into Quicken because these were the days before you could just get downloads.
Yeah.
Because it created accountability for me to run a report and see how was I spending against budget.
Yep.
Did I have money left over? Was I coming up short? Yeah. So I think those are just tried and true.
Yeah, I like, again, I keep going back to habits and I keep going back to things that you can start early, all right? And I know when I would work with clients as, I have my practice as an advisor, I'd ask people to, hey, usually when you start doing financial planning, it's assets, liabilities, income, they can rattle that off, blah, 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 blah. And you get to expenses, it's kind of like, oh, this is amorphous number that it could be or might not be. And so I'd ask people to take a pad and just for a week, write down what you're spending money on. And it's a fascinating experience for most people. They're like, wow.
I had no idea I was spending that much money on X.
Yeah. And so I totally understand what you're doing. And if we can get more young people and people of an older age to do some of that, I think that'd be awesome. Bob, I want to thank you for your time. Anything you want to share with us as we wrap up the interview, sir?
No, Mac, really applaud what you're doing. It's important work, and we can never start young enough with kids. Yeah. Get them excited, get them interested. Who knows? They might just want to end up in our business as a financial advisor.
Thank you. It's so funny. We've done quite a few of these interviews, and I've been waiting for someone to say that. It's like this could be a potential career choice for these young people.
It's a phenomenal career, and I spend time talking to high school students about this.
Yeah,
and I find even like talking to a high school sophomore, they're kind of looking at you with their eyes like, I'm not sure I'm interested. By the time they become a junior, they're actually willing to listen to you. Yeah. So we need to get more people looking at what a great profession this is.
Amen, brother. Bob, thank you again for your time. As I like to say, the journey continues. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you'll join us for our next engaging episode. Be sure to follow us on LinkedIn and visit www.the4moneybears.com.